Just want to let you lot know that if you're watching this clip on the Fozcast YouTube channel, the full episode is now available to watch exclusively on Spotify, and it's free. Come on. Right, Hal, do you walk around telling everybody you scored a goal once that's been nominated for a Fozcast award? And if you don't, then why aren't you doing it? Because it was an absolute belter.
To be honest, like, it was obviously like a crazy experience, and you know, I just look back at it now as like a privilege to have like achieved what we achieved. It was a phenomenal tournament. Getting to the tournament, you know, with Wales as our home nation, like, was just a massive achievement in itself. But to then go on, score that goal in the quarters, get through to the semis, obviously eventually knocked out by the winners, you know, we all could hold our head up high. So yeah, the last person I shared that goal with was actually my son, because he was like, one of his friends at school told him that I'd scored this, you know, amazing goal in the tournament, and he was like, I can't remember the goal. I hadn't showed it to him for like since he was a little kid. So a few years later I showed it. So yeah, that's
how old is your son?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, he just sees you as like a businessman now. Like,
he's just dad, isn't he?
He don't remember you as a footballer.
Yeah.
We are talking about Euro 2016, so fantastic tournament for Wales. The goal in question against Belgium in the quarterfinals, the ball gets crossed in. You've got Meunier there. You've got big Fellaini there. Ball drops to you. And just explain it for us, would you? If you can remember, because I did actually read somewhere that you said, I remember scoring the goal and didn't really think too much of it. And it wasn't until afterwards that you kind of saw the reaction on the news websites and social media. And then everybody was just raving about it.
Yeah, I think it was 1-1 at the time, and obviously second half of a quarterfinal of a major tournament. So the actual goal itself is a bit of a blur now. Like, I just remember being face to face with Courtois and thinking, like, I need to hit it low and hard in the corner. Thankfully, it went there, went in, and celebrations were crazy. But the big thing was just winning the game. And it was only after in the changing room that, you know, everyone was like on social media and they were just like, yeah, have you seen this? Like, this is insane. And it had like 500,000 views in like the first hour. So yeah, obviously got nominated for a Fozcast, didn't win. But I don't know how you feel, Fozzy, but looking back at my career, like, what I've realised and seeing, you know, teammates and other professional players is a lot of careers are genuinely just built on moments, and not all players are fortunate to have a moment that you're remembered by and that you remember. And yeah, I'm just thankful that I had a massive moment in a massive
because that moment for you was actually quite big, wasn't it? Obviously, it's so important. You're doing it for Wales on a massive forum that everybody gets to watch. But your contract was up in the summer as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were almost playing for a next contract, a next deal with a bigger football club, hopefully. Yeah. So it's a kind of showcase for everybody to see and go, oh, we'll have a little bit of that.
Yeah. So I'd been at Reading since I was 15 years of age, came through the academy, and yeah, got promoted to the Premier League with them, got relegated, signed a new contract, you know, on the premise to get them back up. We never eventually got back up, and I'd basically run my contract down to that summer. And it's a massively risky move to do for any professional, you know, footballer. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't advise it, but I knew we were going into the tournament. I knew I had the opportunity of being, you know, a key player in a team with, you know, real superstars, you know, the likes of Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey. So there was a feeling that we were going to do something special, but it wasn't guaranteed. I had a few championship offers lined up pre-tournament, but obviously post-tournament, my big objective was getting back into the Premier League. And yeah, it put me on a map of, you know, sort of a global level where really as a championship player for the last 3 years, you didn't really have.
Explain that contract running out and how much that affects you. When you're going away to a major tournament, you're trying to impress, but you also know, though, that if you pick up an injury, a big injury, even if it's a 2-weeker, 3-weeker, that can set you back a couple of months, can't it?
Yeah. Well, actually, what a lot of people don't know, and you know, a lot of people won't know my full story around like injuries, but I actually ruptured my plantaris 4 weeks before the tournament started. So we were, you know, at a training camp. It was sort of like mid-May, season had just finished, and we'd travelled with Wales, I think, to Portugal. And just in a friendly game internally on the training pitch, running down the line, and I felt a pop in my Achilles, and I thought my Achilles had gone. Oh. And they basically flew me home that day, went to Fortius Clinic in London, and they basically said, like, your plantaris is damaged. Like, we would recommend resting it for 6 weeks. But they said you can play through it. It won't affect you structurally from like a, you know, an explosive perspective or being able to run, but the pain will be excruciating. So I actually played that whole tournament with a ruptured plantaris.
And was it excruciating?
It was excruciating, but linking it back to obviously what I do now, I was nailing our turmeric shots consistently throughout that period. So my dad was sending batches over, I was nailing them, and I was able to deal with the pain.
So when you eventually then you signed for West Brom at the beginning of the next season, when you're doing your medical, are they aware of the injury that you sustained in the build-up to the Euros? Are you disclosing all of this information?
Yeah, because obviously you got to go through an MRI scan, so they saw like the
Inflammation.
rupture. They saw the rupture in my plantaris, and they were like, well, you know, can you obviously do the run? So you did all of the running drills.
Yeah, I'm
and
fine.
everything.
There's no problem. Don't
was
worry
able
about
to
it.
get through them, but yeah, I had a ruptured plantaris.
You had a turmeric IV on the go.
Literally.
With your product test, you know.
Literally. So it was, I remember that game, and actually the night before that quarter-final game, I remember sitting up with the physios, and he was just like working through like exercises to try and just like numb the pain of it. So yeah, like for anyone who doesn't know what their plantaris is, it's basically it's like a kind of like a ligament, but it runs directly alongside your Achilles. So it feels like your Achilles is ruptured.
Your Achilles is the worst as well. I don't know if you've ever hurt your Achilles, but oh god,
That Achilles tendonitis, that's miserable.
It's brutal, isn't it? If you ever get a kick on your Achilles, for example, it's murder.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolute murder. Let's talk about then that Wales team, okay? Because you had some, like you say, some big stars in there. Joe Allen, didn't mention him as well. Wayne Hennessy, Ashley Williams. Is that the reason that you did so well in that tournament, that you've got such experienced players? You're not talking, apart from obviously Gareth Bale, world beaters, but you're talking about real good, honest, solid professionals, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'd say like the biggest thing was like the team spirit, and you've seen it in the change rooms that you've played in. Like when you have that momentum, when you have that belief, like it really doesn't matter like how talented you are, you can win games. But like if you then layer that on top with the quality of players that we had, and then obviously lay on top of that like a global superstar in Gareth Bale, which in his prime, you know, could go toe to toe with anyone. He could flip a game on its head. I think we just had the right ingredients and the right formula to deliver results, and we delivered it. Like it was insane.
What was it about Gareth Bale when he pulled on that red Wales shirt? Because it was different to him pulling it on for anybody else, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think like that, and I know like Gareth Bale, he's had a lot of critics, particularly obviously in Real Madrid. But actually, like when you break down like what he's achieved,
some of the goals he scored for Real Madrid, we're talking
massive
big moments,
massive
big goals.
A bicycle in a Champions League final. Like, you know, for most people, most players, if they do that, like you'll go down as a legend. But actually, from a perception perspective, and again, like life is about perception. Unfortunately, he fell on the wrong side of the media in Spain, and unfortunately, like his legacy isn't probably what it actually should be when you base it on accolades, success, and the goals that he scored.
Do you think part of that is the fact that he played in a team with Ronaldo? Yeah. And there's that element of like people possibly don't appreciate the other players because they're kind of blessed with arguably the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, as well, I think they look at Ronaldo and they think everybody should be like that. Everybody should be this dedicated, this professional, and want to just win and play football all the time. It should be their sole focus, but it's not how life works, is it?
Yeah, and also I would say like Gareth Bale didn't want to be like live a global superstar life. So he was, you know, very reserved, family man, like would keep himself to himself, and obviously loved his golf. But whereas, you know, if you compare that to the typical superstar, i.e. Ronaldo, you know, who generally like uses his profile in the media to build his profile even further, like that was never Gareth Bale's like objective. So yeah, I think again, it just boils down like everyone's different, and at that level, like really it should come down to the quality of the player and what they have achieved. And if you actually benchmark Gareth Bale on that, it's phenomenal.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed this clip of the Fozcast. If you would like to watch the full episode, it is now available exclusively on Spotify for free.